having come straight from a frustrating faculty meeting. She said, "Paul, don't speak to me. My serotonin levels have hit bottom. My brain is awash in glucocorticoids. My blood vessels are full of adrenaline. And if it weren't for my endogenous opiates, I'd have driven the car into a tree on my way home. My dopamine levels need lifting. Pour me a Chardonnay and I'll be down in a minute." Of course, the Churchmans have been a very influential couple. They have a large group of graduate students and postdocs. They notice it's not just they who talk this way. Their students now speak of psychopharmacology as comfortably as of food. So you see the idea. You just don't talk about what you want. Don't talk about beliefs. Don't talk about hopes. Don't talk about wishes. Don't talk about the longings of the human heart. Just talk about glucocorticoids. Cut directly to the chase. Yeah? Why not? What would you be missing? The argument is you'd be missing nothing. If you had enough knowledge, detailed knowledge of other people's biology and enough detailed knowledge of the physics governing them, you could do the whole thing of predicting their behavior at that level. But if Dennett's strange kind of point is right, that's not true. And Dennett kind of rounds it up into a definition of what it is to have a mind. The way he puts it is in terms of what it is to have beliefs. He says, take that strategy of using imaginative understanding, or thinking in terms of the mind, that lets you predict what other people are doing. So using talk about someone's mind to predict what they're going to do. You say to me, I'm going to get a coffee right after class. So at the end of class, I predict you're going to be making a beeline for some cafe. Right? That's the kind of thing we all do the whole time. Then I can predict your behavior using the intentional strategy. Then his picture is, that's all it is to have beliefs. If someone can lock onto you and use the assumption that you have a mind to predict what you're going to do, then you have a mind. There's no more to it than that. Any object, or as I shall say, any system whose behavior is well predicted by the strategy, that strategy meaning taking the person who have beliefs and hopes and desires and longings, that is, in the fullest sense of the word, a believer. You have beliefs if that can be what happens. So what it is to be a true believer, to truly be, this does not mean something religious, what it means, what it is to truly be a believer is to be an intentional system. That is, a system whose behavior is reliably and voluminously predictable via the intentional strategy. That is, via the assumption that you have beliefs and hopes and intentions and longings. So one analogy you might use here is, back in the Middle Ages, there was Ptolemaic astronomy, where the idea was that all the planets, all the heavenly bodies went in perfect circles around a static Earth. And people had been developing the system since the Babylonians and making predictions as to what they were going to see in the night sky the next night. And when you do that in a simple way, it goes wrong if you were assuming that everything's just going in simple circles. But then they assumed that things are describing two circular motions simultaneously, going round and round like that at the same time as going round and round like that. Stop me if this gets too technical. You can then assume, once you've got that far, you can assume that things are describing three circular motions simultaneously, and so on. And if you get the maths sophisticated enough, you can do it. And by the Middle Ages, they had done it. You could predict exactly what was going to happen in the night sky by assuming that everything was going in perfect circles, just complexes of perfect circles. So the system of talking about epicycles, Ptolemaic astronomy, they weren't daft. Nobody thought that this had anything to do with the dynamics of the system, that this was what was making the planets do stuff. But it was what they called a convenient fiction. It's a predictive gadget. It's a kind of abacus that you can use to predict what the planets are going to do. So in this way of thinking about the mind is just having a handy abacus for figuring out what this complex physical system is going to do. You and I, all of us, are far too complex physically for it to be easy to do the math directly at the level of the physics. So you get a convenient scratch pad. You get this abacus that you can use, and I use this thing, assume they've got beliefs and desires and so on, and then I can predict for you what they're going to do. And that's all it takes to have a mind. If you're predictable in that way, then you have a mind. If this scratch pad works for predicting your behavior, then you have hopes and longings and fears and loves and so on. So the idea of saying, oh, there's no such thing as a mind, that just goes away. Because all it is to have a mind is to be predictable in that way. And most of us are predictable in that way. So you don't need to eliminate talk about the mind in favor of talk about biology, because all there is to having a mind is being predictable using that kind of convenient fiction. So that's Dennett's defense of talk about the mind. So in this way of thinking of it, talking about the mind isn't a way of talking about the causes of behavior. It's just a way of predicting behavior. Just as Ptolemaic astronomy isn't a way of talking about the causes of the movements of the planets. It's just a way of predicting them. So talking about your beliefs and desires, the causes of what you're doing, that's at the level of neurophysiology. But predictive ability, you get that from this abacus, talking about beliefs and desires. Are you comfortable with that? Right. Well, we do think about them as the causes. If that's true, then Dennett is wrong. Yeah. Because the whole point of this, let me just go back a bit. I do recommend reading this. If you manage to follow this lecture, then you're in very good shape for following the article. You should be able to read it just like you read a newspaper. And there's lots of stuff and ways of putting things that I'm not doing here. But here's what it says. What it is to be a true believer is to be an intentional system. A system whose behavior is reliably and voluminously predictable by the intentional strategy. That doesn't require you to be knowing the causes of anything. Or the belief could be causes. It doesn't rule that out, no. But it doesn't require it. Having a mind isn't a matter of having beliefs and desires that cause anything. That's the point of the picture, really. That when you have this idea of, well, I'm just going to talk about serotonin levels or glucocorticoids or whatever it is, then I'm really just talking about the causes. The causes, there aren't any psychological causes. Yeah? You shouldn't be comfortable with that. Is it clear what he's saying? Or what I'm saying he's saying, anyway? Pause me if there's anything that is not completely clear. Okay. Yeah? No threat of elimination. I'm not sure I can say it. No threat of elimination. what does that mean? Well, the idea is something like this, that when you're looking for the mind, you're looking for the causes of behavior. But the causes of behavior are all physical. So if you want a systematic theory about the causes of behavior, the best place to look is not in folk psychology, in imaginative understanding. The best place to look is in theories of brain function. That's the argument for eliminating talk about the mind. But we've got this general biology that applies to all living things. And humans are just a special case of it. Once we have that, why would you talk about the mind at all? Let's not talk about the mind. Let's throw it in the dustbin of history. Just as we don't anymore, usually, think of the weather in terms of the actions of the gods. Because we've just got a better way of doing it now. You talk about air pressure and stuff like that. Well, with humans, we've got a better way of doing it now. Just as with the weather, you can do it directly in terms of air pressure. With the humans, you can do it directly in terms of biology. You can keep this picturesque talk of people having minds, just as you can keep picturesque talk of the weather being the gods being angry. But that's all it is, just picturesque talk. That's illuminativism. Yeah? But then once you have this picture, I'm not saying anything more about having a mind than saying using to talk about a mind to predict someone's behavior is successful. You can really do it. You can really predict someone's behavior by this technique. That's all it is to have a mind. Yeah? Then, since you're claiming so little when you say someone has a mind, then you can't be shown to be wrong by appealing to biology. Yep. Very good. Yes, absolutely. I think this is a real issue. Yeah, this is the kind of Blade Runner problem. Blade Runner? I don't know. Is that, have you guys heard of Blade Runner? Yeah, okay. Some of you have. Okay. Well, yeah, if you get robots that you can apply the intentional strategy to, yeah, you can reliably and voluminously predict their behavior by assuming they've got beliefs and desires, then it's going to say they have a mind just as much as you do. There's no sense in which you have a mind and they don't. That is actually going to be social robots are, there are all these ingenious people at MIT and in Berkeley who are making robots that tap into your imaginative understanding, that call on your capacity for empathy to interact with them. And that's just going to keep happening. And we're really going to have to face these problems. Is this real? When I'm just tapping into it, then it says, if you can predict it using imaginative understanding, then that's as real a mind there as anything that any of your friends have. And if you're going to say no, you really better know why, because this is coming very quickly, it seems to me. Yeah. Okay. And I actually agree with Umrao that this Dennis picture just can't be right. That when we're talking about psychology, when we're talking about the mind, we want to be talking about the causes of behavior. When Jaspers was talking about sinking yourself into the psychic situation of another and understanding genetically by empathy how one event emerges from another, that is thinking about what's making the thing happen. In a court of law, we don't just say, well, it was reliably and voluminously predictable via the intentional strategy that Jones was going to kill Brown. When we ask, for which motive did he act? Did he do it out of revenge? Did he do it out of self-defense? Did he do it for both reasons? These are causal questions. You can't make sense of what's going on in our ordinary talk about the mind unless you think of these psychological states being causes. Or to follow up on that robot, suppose you've got a robot, but it's not like an autonomous robot. It's actually being controlled by puppeteers from Alpha Centauri. They're saying of the robot, ha ha, now we make it go to a philosophy lecture. Now we make it go to the free speech cafe. Now we make it go to the library, right? And let's suppose that's your friend, right? That's what's happening. They're just being steered about by puppeteers and Alpha Centauri. Then if you've got a puppet that is being driven about like that, its behavior is going to be predictable in the way that then it says. You can try and imaginatively understand it and say, what's it going to do now? And that'll work fine. But does it have a mind? Does that kind of... Look at it. It is but a puppet. It is a mere puppet. How can it have a mind? But you can still predict what it's going to do in the way Dennett suggests. If you remember this old friend, if you think about this guy, that whole system, you can predict what Chinese sentences is going to spit back out in answer to your questions. Is any of it minded in the sense of understanding the Chinese? No. But Dennis' picture says, yeah, that's right, that's got a mind, that's thinking. That's using the Chinese as a language in which it thinks. Because you can reliably and voluminously predict its behavior, assuming that that's what's going on. But that's obviously a mistake. There's nothing here that understands Chinese. Or if you had Locke's homunculus-headed robot. Locke's homunculus-headed robot is reliably and voluminously predictable via the intentional strategy. Does it have a mind? No. It does not have a mind. Of course it doesn't. It's not conscious. Can't think at all. How could it? So Dennis' picture must be wrong, it seems to me. But the trouble is, if you say it's wrong for the reasons I just gave, that it's not the mental life that is what's causing these things to act, then the question is, in the case of you and me, there's always biology that is driving us around. So when we say, well, in addition to all this biology, you furthermore have a mind, and that's telling you something about the causes of behavior that you didn't know just by knowing the biology, then they can't both be right. And surely biology is authoritative. Surely we can't appeal to folk psychology to rule out biology. So you face that threat of eliminativism once you say, no, if I have a mind, it must be making things happen. And on that bombshell, we'll pack up for today, and we'll do the exam study questions on Wednesday. Okay, thanks, guys.